Hi folks, today I have a pleasure of having Guillaume here, right, who is a supply chain leader in the region. I met him in one of the supply chain conferences and he was talking about supply chain risk. So I just thought I can take an opportunity for him to talk about. Hello Guillaume, how are you today?
Good, how are you? Thanks for the invitation also. Hi everyone, I hope the year end is being good for all of you watchers.
Good. So today we'll actually talk about, it's a brief call as we always have in our supply chain show. We'll talk about supply chain risk in general, because Guillaume is an expert, has a lot of experience. We'll talk about what is the supply chain risk in UAE, given the experience, and maybe we see what is his recommendation and maybe a little story, right? So again, I think we should start with your introduction. So would you like to introduce yourself in detail, please?
Yeah, so well, I will start with a little bit of personal information. So actually, I'm French. Maybe my face is not showing it, but I am French with some origin.
Your accent is definitely.
Yeah, sure. From origin from Africa and India, so quite an international background. Let's say I've been working in supply chain since more than 10 years now. I'm passionate about supply chain and working in different positions, from warehousing, demand management, planning. Supply planning, demand planning, transportation and so on. So luckily I had the chance to cover all the aspects which give me an end-to-end view from the distribution side and also from an industrial side on the plant point of view. So that's all for my background. Otherwise you can always look it up on LinkedIn, of course, where you will have all the information.
Definitely. How long you been in the region already?
So if we take the Middle East extended, meaning including Egypt, because before UAE I was in Egypt, wow. So it's been 10 years. Wow. I graduated from France and then I moved to Egypt and then I moved to Dubai, so more than 10 years in the Middle East, let's say.
Very good. No, so I think you had a very interesting talk in the Supply Chain Arabia on the supply chain risk, right? And I think it's inspirational, right? So I thought let's discuss the key themes you mentioned in this talk with the audience.
Actually, yeah, because the supply chain, usually for supply chain people, and especially in the region, we are always focusing on the operation. We want to deliver, we want to achieve our number. That's good, that's important. But supply chain risk is a topic which is usually taken as the last priority, whereas it's really important because it can literally stop your operation if you are not taking care of it. And the main part is, and especially now, and being in Dubai, which is the hub for trade, which also wants to become a hub for manufacturing to export toward the emerging market. This is a topic which is important to tackle, and in terms of visibility in your supply chain, yep. In terms of how you're securing your different transportation line, in terms of now also you have the because it's physical asset as well as digital asset. Yes. So you have the cyber security, which is not always what you are thinking about. When you think about cyber security, you think about the movie and the hacker sitting in the corner hacking everything, which is actually it's more simpler than that. It's basically how you make sure that in your ERP system you don't have much more login that people working in the company.
Yes.
Because it means that there is a risk.
Yeah. So there's intellectual property involved which could be hacked. Yeah.
So all of those different topics which I highlighted during the presentation, which I think are important in terms of supply chain security.
No, definitely. I think if you think overall in general, there's a huge focus on supply chain risk, but I see there is a commercial implication, right? So let's take the case of Volkswagen, for example, where their brand management, a brand was at risk, and then after that people don't want to work with them, right? So how you see that?
Yeah, you see, because this is typically the type of thing. Commercially, it will have implication as a supply chain, meaning that a good news or bad news as a supply chain, you have to make sure that the company is adapting to it, because you are the custodian of the cost as well as see how you can add value. But in this type of when there is a risk emerging and when there is an adverse situation happening, is that how you can make the damage control on a supply chain point of view. Yeah. So when there is a case like the Volkswagen case, and you know that you will have a fluctuating demand on it, okay, how you will make sure that your supply chain is managed to be sure that you're controlling the cost that will come from this fluctuating demand, because in this case it was a bad image, so people didn't want it to work with Volkswagen. So how you control your planning, what is your damage control strategy that you have in terms of how you're working with your different flow, how you're slowing down on some part, and making sure that you're not using the cost of the capital of the company, which is impacted. So here, typically, is how you are making scenario in your demand management. That's one of the part of the supply chain risk also.
I think this is the so if you think about inventory management or demand planning, right? What happens is people try to minimize the risk, right? Is by putting buffers in, which I don't like. Actually, I almost hate putting buffers in, right? Why are you putting more inventory in? Because you have a demand risk, right? Why are you basically finding 3 more suppliers because you think one of them is a risk, right? And I don't appreciate this concept. So what's your thought? What's your thought on that?
No, actually, you're right. When you have a stock, it means that there is a buffer somewhere. Typically, the lean Toyota principle is that you remove space to remove the stock in between. And which is actually, this part also is bringing me to what I consider as being one of the most important risks you have in your supply chain is that you don't have much of visibility to your supply chain. Now it's a globalized world. No, you are not bringing your supplier from the corner of the street. You're bringing it maybe from another continent, and your customer might be in another continent. And there are studies showing that the more you go further in your supply chain, the less visibility you have. So the number is that usually you know what's happening in your company, which is normal. Your first level, you are 80% visibility you have. But then when you go to your tier 2 supplier or your tier 2 customer, this number goes to around 30%. So this is, and because of this lack of visibility, then you make buffer, which is inventory, and which is directly impacting the way you're using your capital. So what you're saying is totally agree that the more you increase the visibility, the more you have the what if scenario planning in your demand management, the better you can.
That's very good point. I think visibility. One way of reducing visibility is improving visibility. So reducing risk is improving visibility.
True.
So I think we talk about remediation a bit later on as well. So let's focus on the Middle East region, because we live here about 10 years. Of course, we are all aware of the geopolitical risk we have the region. So I think that's something we cannot solve in this. I want to drive more. Of course, those geopolitical risk or have their implications on supply chain, definitely. But just if you take them aside, what are the other factors you see could be a risk in doing business here?
No, actually the main risk of the business here is that you have lots of your suppliers who are not from the region. Okay, and in terms of the power that you have on them, it's not as much as if you were located, for example, in North America and Europe, where of course you are really powerful against your supplier. Here, this is something that you have less control on it. So the question is how you remediate against that. And again, I come back and exactly what you say. I mean, how you improve the visibility. Okay, the time of having 80-90% accuracy in your forecast, I will not say it's gone, but it is difficult because of the variability of the region. Here it's emerging, it's growing, it's booming. So how do you improve the visibility? How you make your supply chain more agile? And here this is, I think, where the supply chain function also has to change the mindset between cost containment versus really business partnering with the commercial side and being more aware. For me, for example, my demand, when I want to know information on the market, I should go to my demand planner and not to the business side, because my demand planner should have the same information as the business side, because by doing this, we will bring visibility into the way we manage our demand and how we can anticipate. Of course, you cannot anticipate if there is a conflict somewhere, but you can at least anticipate if there is some change in the political situation, so you know that some product will be more used, some product will be less used, and that in terms of demand planning is important. It's not just data crunching, it's really being a real business partner and improve the visibility on what's happening on my demand side.
I think I've been here almost 1 year now or less, about 11 months or so. There's 2 things I've taken, if I compare with my time in UK and Europe and here, there's 2 things which is I find it risky. The first I want to discuss about how the logistics or logistics infrastructure is right now. Even though we said there's a logistics hub and a lot of good things are happening and it's very efficient, especially on the port side. But when I talk about the road freight and the visibility, it's way backward, right? I mean, it happens quite a few times here. You send a parcel or you send something and it doesn't reach because I think it just, I know it's a small thing, but for somebody who's in logistics, right? The product need to get there, right? And I think this is where I think is an opportunity for somebody who's maybe a startups or whatever, working on the last mile, can improve that. Supply chain visibility can improve that. Recently I worked on a project where we improved actually the visibility of using a tool called Ocean Insight from basically China, all our products from Asia to Europe, right? So we can monitor the container. So if somebody can come up with a cost-effective solution, can improve that. But the second thing I see, which is not really on the technical side or infrastructure side, more on the people side, because it's only 70% of people are here as expats, right? Yeah. So most people are coming here, they are here for the job, they work here, and they keep the things for themselves, right? If that person leaves and then nobody else knows that how you actually was planning and how you was actually, what was your safety stock, what was your inventory, how you actually ordering products, because that person has created his own way of doing things, right? And there is no SOPs in place, there is no standard work in place, and for me is a problem. So one thing I did to people is, let's create standard work, let's create full visibility, because if that person goes on holiday, then everybody should be able to take care of itself. I know it's make people nervous, but it doesn't have to be nervous, right? It's just one team, let's work together. So I see as a risk. What do you think?
Actually, it's interesting because the first part you talk about is coming back to the visibility, and now there's more and more technology, and you can see also in all the different conferences you attend, like live tracking of shipment. I'm in the pharma industry, so it's more than live tracking. It's live tracking plus live temperature control, live humidity control, which gives you an idea of where your products are, which is important. And the second thing, there have been a study done by the Business Continuity Institute, which is publishing every year a report about supply chain resilience, supply chain risk. And when it comes to the Middle East, the skills, meaning the loss of skill, is one of the risks that they are seeing for the Middle East and North Africa and Africa in general as a risk in the supply chain. So it's interesting to see that we are not of course, risk in transportation, risk in having a cut in your IT, in your internet supply. Those are all risks. But lack of skills in supply chain is interesting to see it as a risk, because as you say, people are coming and it's more people dependent than process dependent. There are stories, and I've heard it many times, that in the warehouse, so here we're not talking about supply chain strategy and so on. A simple warehouse location is known by the guy working in the warehouse. So when the guy is not there, finding the SKU is become like impossible. Treasury hunt. Where is it? Because we don't find it. So being process dependent, and also, as you said, so 70% of the population here is expatriate. But also, I think it's something good that we should tell also for local people, that supply chain is a field where you can grow, meaning you can develop yourself, and this is a field where you should go. Trading, all those other different fields are there, but supply chain.
That is what exactly we're doing in this supply chain. We are promoting supply chain. Supply chain is the best field you can ever work for.
Exactly. You want to be challenged. You want to grow. You want to see everything new. And in terms of technology development, in those years, you have, for example, I'm since the beginning I'm talking a lot about visibility. But visibility with the emphasis coming from the Dubai government to be the hub of blockchain technology is something which is really good for supply chain, because it allows you to transfer information on a blink of an eye, I would say like that, and to have visibility of your product. So all those developments are happening, and it's happening also for the sake of supply chain.
So I think in terms of remediation, we said is one of the third topics. So that's clear. Visibility is key point of focus. I think as I mentioned, standard work, right, which is again a form of visibility. Implementing it is a form using technology. More cloud technology, more blockchain. We talked about can improve it, and I think so. What could be like, for example, the fifth recommendation you would say is to improve reduce the risk?
Actually, one important thing is one concept called TTR, time to recovery. It's really important that you know where you're working. Like if an adverse event happening
Yes.
into your supply chain,
Yes.
what is your TTR? What is your time to recovery?
Basically, contingency planning.
Exactly, and especially so. For example, okay, I'm in the pharma industry, so there is a lot of control in pharma industry, a
Yeah.
lot of regulation which are involved, and a lot of approval, of course, which are involved.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue with your raw material, you cannot just find another supplier and start to use it the next day. No, because it takes sometimes 18 months to register this raw material.
Yeah, it's because all ingredients are
Exactly.
part of the recipe and all
So
that.
you
Yeah.
need to know what is your time to recovery for at least your critical supply. How long you will take to recover your business if there is an adverse event. So that's something you need to define as an important point, so that you, of course, when you define it, then you have your contingency plan on making sure
That's very important, and it's incredible. And I've seen it myself that how many times even big multinationals they say they have a contingency plan. It might be written on a piece of paper, but when actually, as we say in English, shit happens. When it happens a lot sometimes, there's people don't even know how to implement it, right? And I've seen, without naming any brand or a company, that a gap of 3.5 months on one of the critical products, they have almost killed the market, and actually competition has taken over and they can't even recover the volumes.
Yeah, because
right?
you see, competition is getting bigger and bigger. So you have to live with it, and it's good because it allows you to improve yourself. And you cannot afford as a business to have a gap, because someone else is there to take your position. That's 100% sure. So you have to make sure that and what you say, the business continuity plan usually is a nice paper where everyone has signed off. But for example, in HSE, which is an important part in the supply chain also, you have the fire alarm drill. You make a drill to make sure that your processes are okay if there is a fire. There is no drill for continuity plan. An example is that in all
Very good point actually. There is no drill for a contingency plan.
Actually, because of the crisis which happened in 2008, in Europe or even in many parts of the world, they implemented if there is a crisis, all the banks are solid enough to leave. Okay, it happened after the crisis. But in continuity, tomorrow, I don't know, I will not take about earthquake or big event, but I will take, my number 2, number 3 raw material have a stoppage in supply. What I will do? So we don't have this type of drill to say, what we will do.
I think that would be the recommendation here, is to how to simulate that if shit happens, it's your contingency plan, which is on a piece of paper, is good enough actually to react in the time you said it will react. So very, very good point. So I think we should like to end the chat with maybe a small story you want to share with the audience here. On the rest.
It's I would say it's not it's not a happy ending. It's kind of.
It doesn't have to be a happy ending, but that's real life, not a romantic movie.
Exactly. So while working on prioritizing our raw material, a business decision was made that the product would be less important than other. So we considered it as not in terms of raw material, it will be less critical, because obviously if we do not move, if we miss it, there is less impact. But so here there is 2 points. There is a visibility on the demand side. Actually, we should have at that time on the demand side, meaning being more close to not only the commercial people but our customer as a supply chain, understood that no, actually this product there is still a lifetime for this product, and it will keep running. It cannot be stopped just like that, because there are demand.
There's a demand,
And if we would have anticipated that, then our plan of action, if something bad happened on the supply side, would have been adequate. Now we didn't see it as a potential of the future, because there was a plan to let it go down. And we had an issue happening on our raw material supply, because, for example, so it's you take a pharma industry, when US FDA is important authority for all pharma industry. When there is an alert to a supplier, well, quality-wise you are not able to get this product, so you're stuck until they solve the issue, or they present the CAPA to the US FDA, and they leave the alert and so on. So then of course, what happened is that your customer keep on ordering, even if you want to let this product go down, but still there's a market for it. You keep ordering, but you are not able to meet the supply.
And then
there's lots of sales.
Lots of sales.
Okay, and then it's lots of sales, and then it's people running everywhere to see how we can make it up.
They can't find a solution.
So it's typically the type of case that we want to avoid.
Definitely, and then come down to let's test your contingency plan, right, and then see if it works or not. Guillaume, my pleasure. It's very good to talk to you. Thank you very much. It's very good always to see somebody who shares the same passion. I think hopefully we'll have more talks, right? See more coming in. So guys, stay tuned and keep watching the channel. This is the supply chain show designed to basically talk to experts like Guillaume and few more to come, so you can share knowledge and hopefully you'll find benefit. Please leave the comments in the bottom, and if you have any questions or any recommendations, if you have any topic you want to talk to me and Guillaume to talk to, please leave your feedback, please leave your comments, and hopefully we'll try to answer you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
I aim to do knowledge videos and interviews with procurement and supply chain professionals and leaders. Consider subscribing to this channel, and I have written practical guides on supply chain. See the link below.